Welcome to Unboxing Women, where we expose the music and entertainment industry's dirty little secrets. Here, we uncover the truth of what is hiding behind the gossip, the glitter, and the fame. I'm Dana, and my latest hobby is archery on horseback.
I'm Micah, and I have 55 houseplants. I just counted.
Today, we are joined by Jessica de Bont, who is a professional combat choreographer, actor, singer, model, and on top of that, also a fire breather and magical defense coach. With degrees in dramatic combat, saber coaching, and fencing, Jessica is highly trained in the art of fighting, either unarmed or with rapiers, daggers, batons, or small swords. Besides performing herself, she teaches actors how to handle weapons and fight on stage. And also, she has developed the Balestra method, which is a special form of stage combat training. So, let's start at the beginning. How did you come in contact with stage fighting in the first place? Because this intro is insane, Jessica.
It's a lovely intro. I've never heard an intro like that before.
You're welcome.
Well, you've got the best date to have this interview. Today, I started with my first rehearsal at the Gesso, where I started my stage combat career 20 years ago. So we started 20 years during a Three Musketeers performance. I didn't get the big part. So the director said, well, could you maybe just join the fights? Because you're young and I think you can do this. And I started with one rapier. And that was the time when the first Pirates of the Caribbean just came out. And I was watching the movie and I said, well, I can do this. So we started coupling fights. And then we went back to the theater and we were fighting like 7 hours a week during that season. We had so much fun. And after the season, the stage combat coach came to me and said, well, if you like it, just continue. Keep going. You gained a couple blades and you said, have fun. And that's how I started.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, and we met on set, or rather behind the set, of Joan of Arc the musical that we worked on in 2024. And I thought, now, this is a woman I want to get on the show. Because, I mean, did you, roll naturally into all these other skills as well, like fire breather?
Yes. I started my working career with a very special job. I was in customer service on the phone because my father said you have to do a serious job. And I was like, okay, well, let's do something serious. Let's get to the phone. And I got so bored. I had a bore out in 3 years. It was really devastating. And in that bore out, I said, well, maybe I can just do something I like and maybe earn some money with it. And that's the first time I went to England for my saber coach degree. Yeah, that's it. So I went for a fencing coach degree. Started doing that at this wonderful school. It was a Harry Potter school. We stayed in there for a whole week. So when you walked in at night to go to do dinner in a hall just like the Harry Potter stages, you were looking at the paintings, thinking that they're going to start talking to us or stuff like that. It really was a magical place. So I did that. I trained for 9-10 hours a day, came back home and I said, well, my body's okay. Now let's start working on my head. And that's when my then boyfriend, now husband, said, just try something, go for it. And I started working at an actress in a zoo in the Netherlands. And from there, just one thing led to another and said, oh, I like the fighting. Let's go back to fighting. And from fighting, I was like, let's get a degree in fighting. Let's go back to London. And that's when I started my British Academy stage combat courses. And now every 2 years I go back to get a new degree, to get a level up and really just have a lot of fun.
Wow, that's
crazy. Wow.
You're amazing. So yes, stage combat, but you also give workshops on fire safety, for example, when pyrotechnics are involved, like the torches and, well, we had a blazing bonfire on the set of Joan of Arc.
That's crazy. It was so amazing.
It was really cool. And Jessica was the one who had to teach everyone how to, what the reaction should be when something caught ablaze. So, yes, tell us more about that, Jessica.
Well, the fire adventure started in a similar way. My husband had a burnout. We just had a baby who was crying so much. We call it a hell baby in Dutch. I don't know how you call it. Then mm, yeah. I don't know. It was just he was so sick. That was really devastating. But I quit my job that I really loved. I was a supervisor entertainment in theme park, and I had to quit to take care of my husband and my kid. And then I said, well, I do need something for myself. So I called a friend and I said, you were performing in our park last year. I think you need a new team member. Could you teach me fire? And she said, yes, I would love to. So we started working together like 3-4 years ago. And she taught me the fire breathing things. I think my first performance was like 3 months after I learned it. I was working on my first festival. We had so much fun and everything just worked naturally. After that, I worked with a stunt choreographer who said, if you like the fire stuff, let's get more into the techniques and how to teach fire to students. Because he was teaching the kids from 12 years. Yeah, I think 12 was the youngest I did with him. So he said, well, if you want to have kids work with fire, let's go back to the basics. What do you need for fire? How do you make sure people who got scared, how do you get them to get in touch with fire? Because that's what the workshop really is. And from those workshops, some high schools, we went to workshops with businesses because it's a really fun workshop to do when you're with colleagues. Sometimes we do just like maybe they go to theater things or stuff. And we said, well, let's work with fear. Let's see how you react to fear when you're amongst colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get some fire involved and people have to put fire on their hands. And that's really frightening. People have to get their hands on fire, but also fire eating, not breathing. We do it as well, but fire eating is a bit more scary because they have to put fire above their head and then let go. It really. But that's a bit what I do with fire. And I was on the set with Joan of Arc and they said, well, they're here for stage combat, but we're also going to do something with fire. Could you help us on that? So we started digging the holes to get the gas on the right spots and stuff like that, because we had tents on fire. We had parts of the decor on fire. We got a big flagpole that had to be on fire as well. And people waving with fire. That was quite scary for a lot of people. So that's where I got in. And we had like 90 minutes to get people, they had to get to know their fear for the fire, how they normally react with fire. I had to get them, they had to acknowledge their fear and just work with it. And basically get to find a fun with fire. If you find your inner fun with fire, then you can perform with fire. Because then they got the torches and they were like, okay, I need to get it out. They put it on the ground and they start stamping on it and stuff. That was really scary. So I said, okay, this is fire. Let's get a towel, put it in the towel, roll it, fire's out. Everybody happy. And that was really fun to do.
Yeah, and then the torch isn't full of sand and you can actually light it again after.
We can use it for all the performances. And even when something goes wrong on set, but that's still what they talk about at the Fontes in Tilburg. Because they did the fire training with me. There was a show, I think it was the fourth show or something. We had a torch and a piece of fire fell off on the floor and there was fire on the floor and everyone was like, and this actor, he just walked to the place, got a towel from underneath his costume, don't know where it was, just put it on the fire, poof, poof, get a towel back into his costume, and did the rest of the show like nothing happened. And I was so proud of that one.
Amazing. Well, you touched a little bit on some other kinds of clients. So besides theater and film productions, your clients are festivals and clubs, or even theme parks, you say?
Yes. I'm working together with Satira Fire Shows, and together we do amazing projects. I think this year is the 7th time she's working at Attractiepark Toverland to do a fire show the entire summer. Then we got 5 shows a day, and those are really cool, really difficult fire shows because you have multiple twos. You got the fire breathing, you got the waving with the toys, with the fans, with the spear. She really does really cool stuff. I've worked together with her as a director first and then as a performer. So that's one. While she's doing that this summer, I'm going to the Efteling. We're gonna do fire breathing again with the gin at the Fata Morgana plane, and that's not that technical as the show in Toverland. It's more like we're doing a theater show and we need some cool stuff. Let's put fire in it. And also we got a really cool dance with fire on the hands. Group of dancers.
How does that work? You keep saying fire on the hands. How does that work?
You got multiple stuff to use when you're using fire. We got the fire breathing stuff. That's the most safest to use for fire breathing. We got lamp oil that a lot of people use for fire breathing or both tools. And you've got some other stuff if you really want to have fire eating. You can put that on your hands and then just it will go out. So for instance, when you use bosbenzine, it burns immediately and it's easy to put out. When you've got lamp oil, it takes a time. It takes a while to get it on, so you can't use that if you want to put it on the hands.
Yeah, it has to like go poof, actually, yeah.
That's the hardest part of our job, to get to know when you want the flame on and off.
Wow,
It really is.
I never thought of that. Yes, you're directing fire. That must be the hardest thing.
Sometimes we're just mixing bottles to get the best flaming moments. Yes. And what we do at Efteling, we have palm torches. So you've got an elastic on your hand. There's a little thin oil, and you've got the tool over here, and that's the part that's on fire. So we're dancing, and we've got those little things over here. And when we use fire on the hands with kids or at workshops, then we play with gas and water. So the hand is wet, so nobody gets burned. Then we got a special trick to put the gas on the hand. We light it and it goes.
So you also do corporate events, and then you were saying workshops for schools. Working with kids and fire, is it again like face your fear kind of thing?
Once you get to know the fire and you know how to use it and you know how people can react on it, it's easy to give a workshop because you know the possible outcomes. And if you got grown-up people working with fire, there's always a clown or somebody that's like, "Ooh, yes, I can do this with fire." If you're teaching kids, I'm scared of shit because I've got 1,000 things that can go wrong in my head. But if you got kids and fire, they're like, I get to do it? Okay. And they do everything you ask in the specific order that you're asking it. It's wonderful. Like grown-ups are like, okay, I know how to do this. No, just give me the fire, I'll do it. Okay, I burned myself. What do I do now? I said, yeah, just stop it. This is what I said. There's water. Put your hand in the water. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, but adults take more initiative and think they know it all.
It is. And you know, it's if you're working with fire or you're working with swords and blades, you've got this magic moment, and it's the best part of our job. I call it the Peter Pan moment. There's this moment in time where the people you are working with, they get to learn something new. And when people learn something new, first they're excited, then they're scared, then they get a tool, fire, sword, whatever. They're doing something with it, and it's like, I can do this, or I like it. And that small moment, that's the most magical moment you can work with.
That's really a nice way to say it. Yeah, a Peter Pan moment.
Yes, it is.
Magical, yeah.
You're just a small kid in your head, and there's just all the room that has to be used for the excitement.
Yeah. Oh, and you're currently developing a show called Women Warriors, I saw on your website. I'm intrigued. Can we talk about this?
Yeah, but we were talking about the fire shows you can book on corporate events and weddings and stuff, and we said let's try making it a bit more badass. We're starting making costumes with leather, rubber, copper as well. And we're trying to work with that to make it a bit more badass fire show instead of just sexy women with fire, because we all know that trick. And we're working a bit with more big moments with fire. My colleague is very good with a whip. That can be sexy, but it can be really cool as well. She's amazing. I said, well, let's start with a shield, and you could put things again to make a sparkle rain on your shield, stuff like that. So we're really playing with that, and we're working with the dragon as well. We love our dragon, Lucifer. Yeah, you have to find Tess. He's amazing. He got a car, he got a chair on it, and he built a really big dragon on it. So you've got the car on the dragon. He made some kind of a pole in front of the dragon. We're sitting on we're hanging on there for our lives, just hanging on under the dragon. And when the dragon is breathing fire, we breathe fire from the flame from the dragon, stuff like that.
What? That sounds like so much fun.
It is. It is. And we get paid to do it. That's the best part of it.
I love it. It's like, with you, it's like a menu of awesomeness, you know? What will I have? Yes, there's some fiery Vikings, and I'll have those. And then, I'll also have the sword fight on the side with some daggers thrown in, Oh, and don't forget your wand. It's just crazy.
It is. And I dropped the one, but this year it came back on the show I'm directing. And we're gonna have so much fun. Yes, we've got this magic wand that also spits a little bit of fire.
Okay.
Yes. So the people who are writing this show, it's called Dracula. They got a wish in the show. They're in a forest. It's really dark. She wants to make some fire. So she gets her wand, makes a trick. The wand gets a bit of fire over there, but then it starts raining stars. That's going to be just a cool light effect. I'm not going to do that with fire, no. It's going to start raining stars. And because it's raining stars, we're going to get some real nightmares. And nightmares, think like a horse with a unicorn like that, black, red eyes, and really scary stuff. We added that to the show because I like it. And then we've got some special witch ritual. They wrote in the show and said, I don't want a Wicca kind of thing. It's like, you don't toy with faith. So I don't want to touch it like that. So let's try to make, instead of a witch ritual, let's make a fire ritual. So I've got this really cool trick where we've got, do you say a chandelier on the ground? We've got 6 candles. And I've learned my actress, and she just learned it last month, and she's going to perform it next month, to light a candle with just her fingers. It really is magic. It's so beautiful to see. So I can't wait to see it on the show.
Wow. Yes, we must share videos of that, because indeed, yeah, the show will have happened, so we can.
This is like talking to a magician. It's like, what? How? I keep coming back to the question, how? But again,
I'll send you a tutorial.
Thank you.
We must do this. We must do this.
There's like, obviously, I've seen the things where people light candles but they were on, and then you've got the smoke, and you light the smoke, and the smoke wicks back to the candle and then it lights the candle again. I've seen that. I've done that. And it's really cool. But it's like you have to have had the candle on before. So.
Well, if you got 6 candles, 1 candle is on. So I start with a bit of fire. And then I've got this magic water. And this magic water, I can put my hands aflame and then go to the next candle and light it like that.
You're so cool. Have you used any of these skills? I mean, maybe we should go back to the fighting. Have you used any of these skills to scare men away when you're walking at night? That's what I want to know.
When no, not really at night.
Oh, in the day. Oh, in the daytime. Yes, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us.
It's more like I don't have a lot of men around me that harass me or stuff like that, because when I'm fighting, I'm badass. I was Snow White 2 years ago at Castlefest. Love that show. There was a big fighting show. I think we have to perform 36 fights in 3 days. It was amazing. We had this show. I started as Snow White, so my hands were tied, and I had this classical Snow White costume. Really loved it. During my first fight, I had a rapier fight, so I didn't know how to use it. I started with offered rapier against the pirates, and the pirate, he just pulled me to him, and he ripped off my skirt. And under that was like a Powerpuff shirt.
Is this a Snow White? Wait, this is Snow White you're talking about. Okay, please continue. This is one I'd actually want to watch. So, you're Snow White. Your hands are tied. You're fighting with a sword, and you kind of like don't know how to do it yet. Then a what? A pirate.
It started off with classical Snow White, who doesn't want to fight, who's really like, no, please get me out of this cage. What am I doing here? Then some guy came up to me and he said, here's a rapier. Fight that guy. And on the other side, there was a pirate I had to fight. So I was starting to fight with the pirate. The pirate took an apple, shoved it in my mouth. So I was like, ah. Then he got me, ripped off my skirt under my beautiful big yellow ball gown kind of skirt. There was a really short skirt, like a Powerpuff Girls shirt. I don't know, Stella wings, stuff like that. And then he pissed me off because of the apple. So I won the fight because I was pissed. Hence, I won. Nobody thought I would win, so that was a bit of a special move. So enough, I got back in round 2, and round 2 I had to fight a scarecrower. We had a scarecrower in the show. He was possessed. He couldn't die. So how do you fight a scarecrower that can't die? He had a big, how do you call those things?
Scythe.
He had that. And next to my rapier, I got a dagger. So we had this wonderful fight where I was just fighting off, trying to kill him, slash him, but he wouldn't die. I got the dagger into his eye. So that scarecrow was just walking like this with a dagger in his eye. And then somebody said, he's possessed. You have to kill him with fire. And I was like, I could do that. I got the sky. I put that on fire. Just walked to a stagehand, got a sip. And I started fire breathing on his head. So the scarecrow died with his head in flames, and I was just fire breathing behind it. It was a really, really, really cool fight. So that's how Snow White won round 2.
Round 2. Fight. Finish him.
It was. And then she went on to the finale. And in the finale, yes, of course there's a finale. In the finale, she was transformed and she was really badass. So I've got, instead of the princess boots, I had big white boots on, and I've got the things from the knights, you know, the leather, yes, the leather braces to protect myself. And then I got into an unarmed fight with a robot. And that was quite hard because he was just throwing me in the air, stuff like that. And Snow White won that to climb on his back and just really bite and get the threads and stuff like that, get him out of his neck. And that's how Snow White won the cage fight, the very first cage fight at Castlefest 2024.
Wait, how many times did you do this show?
2 shows on Sunday, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Friday, and each show is 3 fights. We had rehearsals on Thursday, and I think 2 on Wednesday as well. So I think 12 shows. It's 36 fights.
Sorry, I'm crying from laughing so much because this is insane.
Yeah, but it was so much fun.
Around as well all the time.
Well, we dropped a bit of the
Yeah.
when we got further in the festival just to keep me alive, because this idiot, I was so high of all the adrenaline. When we were done with the shows, I was like, okay, let's go to a concert, because I was so hyped up from those fights. So we were dancing and playing till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And the next morning at 10 o'clock, we had our big show again.
Oh, yeah, big full. But I mean, you're so in shape. It's really insane.
I was, yes. Oh, I loved it.
Well, now for something completely different. I don't want to ruin the mood. But last year in July, you were diagnosed with breast cancer. You took it in your stride and have since been declared cured.
Yes, I am 6 weeks cured at the moment. Thanks.
Amazing.
Yes. What goes through your mind when you get a diagnosis like that?
Let's go back to the beginning. My husband felt something. He said, well, maybe you should go to see a doctor. Next day I was with the doctor. Next day I was at the hospital. And on that moment, somebody said to me, you have to wait a week for the diagnosis. But I think this is bad news. Prepare yourself for bad news. That was the moment that I was really crying. And I was coming from the Efteling. I was still in costume and makeup and stuff like that. I was like, okay, let's do this biopsy and then I'll go back to fire breathing, guys. And that person who just did the biopsy thing, he said, maybe you should go home and not go back to work this week. No. Well, that day, yes, I did. When I walked out of the hospital, I was crying. I was like, okay, I can't come to work today. So I called in sick that day. But the next day I was just vomiting again, because what else do you do when somebody says to you, you might have cancer? So I just worked that week. And when we were called to the hospital to get the diagnosis, I went to work. I went to the Efteling and I said, guys, can I just one show today? Just if there's bad news, I've done one show. I've done something great today. And those were the best people. They said, just come on, perform one show and then we'll wave you off, do your thing. And the doctor said, you've got breast cancer. It's triple negative, a really, really aggressive form of cancer. My husband was crying and he was just like, fuck, how are we going to do this? And I was like, it's me you're talking about, isn't it? This is somebody else. It's not me. Please don't let it be me. And I think I've been in that state of mind for like a month at least. We've got the news on the 7th of July. And I got my last show on my birthday, the 2nd of August. My big fire show at the festival. And then the next day I called in and I said, let's quit working for a while. Just get me off of the schedule. I'll come and do my work as a coach. So I'll do show watches and stuff like that. Help people perform better. But I don't think I can perform at the moment. I was already going through my chemos. Hair was falling out. Wasn't such a big deal at the moment. We went, my hair started falling out. We went to the theater, my husband, my kid and I. We went to the Gerso and I asked a friend of mine who does the hair in the theater shows. I said, here's a razor blade. Could you please just get it off? Take it all off. And that was quite hard and scary. And I was sitting crying, hearing that machine going over my head. And I was like, okay, there's not much on it. And it's really getting off now. And my boy was at my knees and he said, Mommy, why are you crying? And I said, well, it's scary to do this. And he said, but you're still beautiful. And I said, thank you, my boy. He was amazing. I think you're beautiful, Mommy. So we had it done. The Cinderella show was starting. 800 people were getting in. And I took my boy, I put him on my shoulders. And he said, hey, Mommy, I can sit here. And I was like, oh, yes, I don't have to get my hair out of the way because there's nothing there anymore. So he sat on my shoulders and we were walking through the theaters, in the crowd, just going in the crowd. And I was walking there in the place that I love most with my baby and my husband, thinking, okay, this is my new reality. Let's get it on.
Wow, you're making us cry.
Yeah. And I chose the wrong day to wear mascara.
Yes, you've been talking about that.
You're still beautiful.
Oh, gee, that's really, yeah, a very. I have no words, and I am so glad that you're okay.
Me too. That was really, and that was the spirit we've used during the whole period, because we kept the news to ourselves at first until I was at my 6th chemo. When we thought I was going well, we had a great party. I went skydiving and stuff like that just to be alive because I could. We've kept that spirit for quite a long time. I've done 10 of the 12 Taxel chemos. Everything was going great until I was losing my. I've got neuro. How do you call it? I was losing the feeling in my hands. So I was trying to get a watermelon out of the cart on the desk, and it was just falling out of my hands the whole time. So that was the time when we had to stop, and that was a bit scary as well, for me, for the little one as well. And then my husband he was doing a happy dance at the time. He said, finally, you have to sit on the couch over there, watch television, don't do anything. And I was like, okay, but there's still a show going on right there, and there are people working for me over there. I've got great colleagues who took all my jobs and just said, okay, we'll do it. You relax, we'll do this. We'll go and do the fire breathing and the fighting shows and stuff like that. That was amazing. And we've celebrated every good news, every step we got. When I've gone to the hard part, I've got 4 chemos after that. That weren't so. They weren't special for the body, but they got to my mind. That was the scary part. That was the part that I was like, I was talking to somebody, but there was an elephant in the room, or I thought I went quiet for 3 minutes, but there were no, we're still just in a conversation. So that chemo brain, that messes you up like big times. You're scared to be alone at the house because you're scared you're gonna do something wrong and not knowing that it shouldn't be done.
Oh, wow. This is something, the hands I knew about of a couple of people that I know who've had chemo, but this is something, the brain part is something nobody talks about. So this is very interesting to me and very new. So it's hallucinations, basically.
Yes, you've got the hallucinations and just the part where you tap out and you can't get into conversation, or you forget that there's a little person next to you, stuff like that. That's really scary. And when you don't have control over your mind, you don't have control over your body or anything, actually. So
Scary.
it's really, really scary. It got so scary that I really touched the suicidal part a bit. That I was like, okay, if it's gonna be like this, I don't want to have it again. Like I'm gonna sit on the couch. I'm not gonna eat. I'm not gonna drink because I don't know what I have to do. I need help on this part. And that's when the people from the hospital got in and helped me through it. And they helped me with talking, and I'm a very active person. So when I'm sitting on a couch doing nothing, you've got this saying, stilstand is achteruitgang. How do you say in English?
Yeah, standing still.
If you're standing still, there's no progress. And if there's no progress, I'm doing wrong. So that's a big fight in my head that's been going on ever since now as well in my, in my rehabilitation. That's a big part as well.
But at the same time, I mean, the progress is obviously you fighting off cancer, which is a huge thing, which is just incredible. Like the other things that you did, obviously they brought you a lot of joy, and they still bring you and will still bring you a lot of joy. But in that phase, I mean, you did an incredible thing and you had so much progress. Like, I mean, you must know that though.
Yes, it really, it's like getting a wake-up call, getting a checkup. The chemo is, they've done horrible things to my body. I've got no more muscles, and it's a whole new body I have to get acquainted to. That's quite scary. I talked to my colleague from the fire breathing and the shows and stuff like that. I said, I don't think I'm gonna perform shows this year. No festival, stuff like that. I have to be happy with myself before I can perform again. That's quite a big thing. To be able to look at yourself and think, oh, yeah, let's do a great job and let's go back on track. No, it was quite a big discussion as well because I've got the breast cancer. They had to remove my breast. And I said, okay, remove it. I'll go flat. I don't need it. I don't want plastic in my body. And you have like 4 weeks to decide how you want to live your life. And I said, I don't want plastic in my body. I want to be natural. Please let me be myself. That was a big question. Please let me be myself. And then my husband said to me, well, you're a teacher, you're a performer. How do you want to perform after this? If you want to perform at the festivals where you have to be this sexy lady, yeah, fuck you need breast. That was quite harsh, but true. And during my cancer period, there was one time I had to quit all my jobs, but there was one job, my directing job, I really wanted to keep. And over there, we also got to the point where the board said, we have to go for another director. We can't let you direct this show when you're fighting cancer. And when somebody else is making such a big decision for you instead of talking to you, that really hurts. I think that was the lowest point in my cancer fight, where people were making decisions for me instead of talking to me and asking me, what can we do for you? How can we make your fight as pleasant as can be? So we really tried. We worked it out. That's the big thing. But in that moment where somebody was making decisions for me, I turned to my husband and I said, if this is going to be my new life, people thinking they can make decisions for me because I had cancer, I never want to be in that situation again. I don't ever want somebody to look at me and see, oh, she has cancer, so she can't do this or she can't do that. And I don't want it to be on show, but I don't want it to be during my workshops and stuff like that. So that was the moment when I said to the hospital, let's go for a reconstruction and give me back the feminine look that I have.
And either way, like it's a personal choice. It's just, I don't know, how do you feel about making that choice based on others' expectations, or was it like it's something you chose for yourself then? Because it kind of sounds like you did it more to be able to do what you wanted to do instead of what you would have naturally preferred to do.
If it was just me, I would have gone 100% flat. I said, well, take them both off. I don't ever want to have cancer again. And I really did want the plastic in my body. And during those arguments and those decisions, they said, well, you're 37 at the moment. When you have a breast implant, it's not going to be for the rest of your life. You're going to have to remove you have to remove it at some point. So that's, yes, they last 20 to 30 years at the moment. So that's when I talked to my husband and I said, okay, let's do this at the moment. As long as I perform, as long as I do workshops and work with people, I want to have this look. But the day that I say I'm going to quit acting, I'm going to quit performing, I want to be able to make the choice to go full flat if I want it on that moment. And that's when he said, you've got my blessing, go for it.
He's very supportive, your husband. I'm very, very happy to hear this. You don't know what could happen also in personal relationships in these cases.
We're 9 months ahead in this adventure, and he's been the most wonderful husband. He's got so many patience with me, even now in the rehabilitation, when sometimes my family has its main priority, sometimes my work is main priority. I'm going to be main priority next month when I go back for a full combat session again in London. And he's so supportive.
That's really good to hear. What's on the horizon going forward now that you're performing again? Well, nearly. Where can we see you in the coming, I would say, up to a year? What is going on with you?
First, I'm going to Attractiepark Toverland again, where I started. They're going to do a big diving show with pirates. And they said, Jess, could you maybe come back to the stunt choreography fight performance on this show? And I said, yeah. And we're going to do a little upgrade, maybe use real swords on this show. So that's going to be really special. I love doing that. I'm working with my new colleagues from the 40, 45 and the Willem van Oranje show here in the Netherlands. They're helping me get the right blades and stuff like that. And we're going to have so much fun in Toverland. I'm going to be there for a couple of days.
40, 45. So you did the Studio 100 musical.
No, because I don't want to perform yet. I've called those guys and I said, maybe you guys need some help. So I'm gonna train to help those guys with the bomb explosions and the guns. So I can be more of use in the theater. So after I've done Toverland and I've done my own directing show, Dracula, we're going to the summer and then we're gonna perform at Napoleon. And in Historialia's Napoleon show, we're talking at the moment where I can do production. So I'm going to help production and I'm going to do a lot of side quests over there. So I'm going to do a side quest where I get to, I think we're going to make a big fight with 100 actors, all fighting. So that's going to be a big fight. There are going to be some cannons in there. So I'm going to, that's my new job then. I'm going to get help on those explosions. There's going to be guns in the shows and I'm going to help getting the guns battle ready and stuff like that. And maybe fire. If it's not feet, I think we're going to fight with fire. That would be great.
Remember when you talked to me backstage at Joan of Arc about that time you had to wear a string on stage and you didn't want to? What was that all about? What were the men doing?
Oh no, not the men. It's we women. We're so much yes, I think women are more aggressive to each other than men. Because I'm performing with fire, if it's at a festival or a venue, whatever. But I'm walking with fire. I know I'm a really sexy bitch, but I've got this thing around me that says, "Don't touch me." So I've never been harassed by a man when I'm performing. Thank God. But women, they are really like, okay, so you're sexy. Okay, let's unbutton a bit more like that. Let's show off a bit more like that. How can we get you in a sexier costume? And in the festival scene, it's quite normal to perform in string when you're a woman, even as a fire artist. And we've been going through it for a year. Like, we're fire artists, you're booking us for the fire, not for the body that we have or for the sexiness. So I'm just going to perform in a regular outfit because when my son, who's now 5, in 5 years' time, when he goes on the internet, I don't want him to see his mother in a string. That's how I'm getting into it.
It's your decision, yeah.
That's my decision. That's how I like to perform. That's my line. Don't cross it, please. So there was one show where they said you have to perform in string. And it's in 6 months from now. And my colleague said to me, well, I really want this gig. I need this gig. Please let us do this one. And I said, I'm gonna try it at another event just to see how I feel. I want to talk about it. I want to try it. But if I don't like it, I'm not gonna do it when there are 60,000 people looking at me and I'm on a big screen, because you never know how they edit stuff and stuff like that. And she said, okay, go for it. Let's try it on a small event. See how you feel. I've done it. I felt horrible. I was constantly checking my costume and if is it okay like this? I was totally forgetting how to fire breathe and stuff like that. And at the end of the night, I said, please don't make me do this again. I tried it. Can we just, I'll go tanga. I don't have to be in a slip or anything. Just please don't put me on a string on stage. And she said, okay, let's see how it goes. And a big event was coming. It was like, I don't know, 60 or 80,000 people coming to the festival. It was quite a big festival. And 2 days before the show, I got a call that I wasn't allowed to come because I didn't want to perform in a string. And she asked me again, are you sure you don't want to do this? And I said, no, this, I really have to choose for myself. I'm not going to do this. You can go with another artist. I'm going to cry on the couch in my house. I really want to go with you on this gig. But if I have to do that, I'm not going to perform.
Mm.
And she went back and they said, okay, well then let her perform. And we went to the festival and we were looking like really sexy bitches.
Exactly.
And we performed.
Yeah.
That was the last festival I performed at.
Whoa.
It's just so weird. I mean, there can be a conversation like you can be sexy as fuck, but not be wearing a string. What does that have to do with the string anyway? It's really weird that they would be so unmoving until they actually kind of have no choice, because obviously 2 days before and they tell you not to come. But yes, well, who will be coming then, you know? So maybe it was their last try to pressure you and then you still said no. So it was like, oh, okay, but come in whatever then.
Now, they booked me on that one, but after that, they haven't called again. I'm not performing at the big festivals at the moment.
That is crazy.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, yeah, so do you really think that that is the thing that limits that they call you?
I'm not really sure. I asked if I was allowed to call the booker, if I could talk about it. I said, is there, what happened at that festival? Is it something I did backstage? Is it something I said? Or is it really just a discussion about the string? And the person who booked me said, well, please don't talk about it anymore. Let's just go with the flow. Maybe they'll book us in a year or something like that. So she said, just wait it out. And when I got home, I was quite proud that I said, I'm not going to do it. This is the line. I really love performing for that booker. I really love performing on the big festivals. And I think there are so many big things we can do. But if that's the way how it should go, if you have to be beautiful, if you have to be
naked.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If that's the way it has to go, then sorry, that's just not how I'm going to perform.
I'm sure there'll be other opportunities, where, you're valued more for the actual performance. As you say, it's the weighing of how much do you want to be around people like that as well. How do you really want to work for people like that? And other opportunities will come. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it is. And I think if that's how the game is played, then it's not my game to play. Because the women that are working at the festivals at the moment and that are performing, they're such good dancers and they're really great. And I'm not saying I'm not great. I know I'm great in the stuff that I do. But if that's what they want, then they really just they should book those.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and how can people get in touch with you?
I think mostly through my Instagram at the moment, Jessica Balestra at Insta.
Wonderful. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about your crazy life. It is truly amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
That is all for today. Thank you for tuning into Unboxing Women, everybody. If you have gossip to share, send us an email at hello@unboxingwomen.com. Send a DM or tag us in your post. And don't forget to give us a like on Instagram and Facebook, or subscribe on YouTube or wherever you're watching. Today's guest has been Jessica de Bont, and my name is Micah Rose, and I've been chatting with Dana Rex and our guest Jessica. Tune in to another episode of Unboxing Women next week. See you then. Bye.
Bye.